is the second part of the Graphing Quadratic Equations, dealing with the Study Island section for grade 8 math. If you watched my first section, you will have seen how I pulled up the lesson on Study Island. We're actually really going to use that in this section. In that lesson, it tells you that the equation for a quadratic formula is of the form y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. That's really key for this problem. What this asks us is, will the graph of the equation above intersect the x-axis in 0, 1, or 2 points? We will be able to discover that. However, the first thing we need to do is write the equation into quadratic form, where y is by itself on one side. All I have to do is go ahead and subtract the 16 from both sides. I get x squared minus 16 equals y. If you really care, flip it around so that the y is on the left side. It really doesn't matter. Notice that I don't have that middle term. I don't have that single x. I have the x squared term, and I have just another number, a constant, but I don't have that x term. It helps with these types of problems to go ahead and put in that ghost term. I would put in 0x because it doesn't really exist. 0 times x is 0. It's not really there. But I put it there kind of as a placeholder, and also you'll see in a moment that I actually am going to need that coefficient, that 0. So it's kind of important to remember that that is there, although we don't always write it because, like I said, 0 times x is 0. To figure out whether it's going to intersect the x-axis in 0, 1, or 2 points, we're going to use the information from that lesson using the quadratic formula. The quadratic formula is, and I know this is going to look pretty crazy, x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac, all of that over 2a. Now, we're not actually going to use all that in these problems. You will be using that in the future. However, for today's purposes, all we need to know is this sum under the square root symbol. If that sum is negative, then it will intersect the x-axis 0 times. If it's 0, if we do this and we get a 0, it will intersect 1 time. And I'll go ahead and write that down. If it's negative, it will intersect 0 times. If it is 0, it will intersect 1 time. And if it is positive, it will intersect 2 times. So what I need to do now is pull that information out of my quadratic formula. Remember, a, b, and c, a is always the coefficient to the x squared term, b is always the coefficient to the x term, c is always the constant, that other number. So you will notice in my equation here, I need b, and I need a, and c. I need all three. So all I need to do is figure out that sum underneath the square root symbol. I don't need to worry about any of the rest of that. So I'm just going to pull that out, the b squared minus 4ac, and I'm going to fill in the terms. B is the coefficient to my x, which is actually that 0. So it's 0 squared minus 4 times a. A is the coefficient to the x squared term. Since there's no number written there, the coefficient is 1, because 1 times x squared would be x squared. And then times c. C is negative 16. It takes the sign that's in front of it. When I do 0 squared, well, that's just going to be 0. Didn't need to write that again. 4 times 1 times the negative 16. It's going to be a negative 64. So minus a negative 64 is actually going to be plus 64. So I'm going to get a positive number, a positive 64, which means, if I go back over here, positive intersects 2 times, so the answer is A. Thank you for watching this short video.